Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining here at Unapologetically Progressive. Now today we're going to talk about birth rates. Why? Because Donald Trump and all his white nationalist cronies are all up in arms over birth rates. They're so panicked about birth rates to the point that Donald Trump has even referred to himself as the fertilization president. And how they've talked about women should only have one goal in life, and that's to have children. It's a big bunch of BS, but let's look into why women may be having fewer children as of now, right? Now, if you take a look at this right here, this is live births per 1,000 people, right? This isn't anything where it separates men from women or anything like that, but it's live births per 1,000 people of the U.S. population. In 1960, that number was 23.7%. And in 2022, that number was 11. Now, 2023 was a little higher, and 2024 was back down to a little bit less than 11. Just for complete clarity there. But our live births have decreased. That's obvious, right? You can tell right here since 1960 there's been a steady decline in U.S. birth rates, with a few times where it has, bumped up a little bit. But a steady decline, right? And there could be reasons for this. Could a lower infant mortality have something to do with that? Is it possible that as people started seeing that they were able to have fewer children and more of those children survive, that birth rates dwindled? Is that a possibility? Because the infant mortality rate in 1960 was 25.9, right? So of the children that were born, 25%, almost 26%, would die before they got out of childhood. So there's more needs back then to have more children. If you wanted your family to be able to, successfully move on to the next generation, you had to have lots of children. You don't have to have lots of children for that to be successful as often anymore, right? It's just not necessary. But there are a lot of reasons why women would choose not to have children right now, aside from the infant mortality rate being lower. But if you notice here, take a look at, you see that slope there in infant mortality rate going down, and then you look at this particular chart, and you notice that as infant mortality went down, so did the numbers of children being born. Granted, it's not always that way. Based on this chart, you can see years where things were higher and years where it was lower. But all in all, I think this is one of the driving forces for why Americans are having fewer children. Now, the infant mortality rate in 2022 was 5.4, and it's hovered around that point since 2022 into 2025. The number has been slowly getting smaller because more and more infants are making it, beyond being an infant. They're surviving longer, so people are not having as many kids because they don't have to have as many kids to be able to send, people into the next generation, right? But a lot of people are really up in arms about it. Why would they be so scared? Really, what is the concern that people actually have when it comes to birth rates? Well, for Trump and his white nationalist buddies, could this be it right here? Now, this is from information based on just births per 1,000 women. Not the entire population, but just women. But if you notice here, white women have the fewest children out of 1,000 women out of all these groups: Hispanics, Black or African Americans, and white women. The highest rate per 1,000 women is 56 for Hispanic women. That's 56 children born for every 1,000 women in that demographic. African Americans make up 52 per 1,000 women. And white women make up just 51 per 1,000 women. Now, is it possible? Just a thought. Just a thought. Is it possible that the white nationalists and Donald Trump and them are all up in arms because white women aren't having enough children? I believe that's the reason they're so scared. And I believe a lot of them would probably tell you that. Now, why would they tell you that? Why would they be scared of white women having fewer children? Of course, because they're white nationalists, right? They're white supremacists. That's what they believe. They believe that women or that the white race should have more children than any other race. But what is that? Why is that? Is it because they're scared that if a minority was to take over the country and be the majority population, that they may be treated unkindly? That they may be treated exactly the way they have treated minorities throughout the history of this country? Because I believe that's the case. I truly believe that at the end of the day, the reason these people are so terrified of these other races having more children than white women is because they're scared they're going to be treated the same way that they have treated these minority races in this country since our founding. They're scared that the institutions that have been built on the backs of these minority populations that give them all their privilege to, the white straight men, they're scared they're going to lose that. That's what their concern is. It's not because the economy is going to crash, because if we're not getting rid of immigrants, right? If we're not getting rid of legal immigrants, which we have been doing in this country the last few months, our population growth is fine. I've hardly ever seen a year as an adult where the United States population did not grow, right? And I don't think we need billions of Americans. I don't think it's necessary. We don't have enough resources in this country most of the time to take care of the people we have. And I get it. I get it. There are issues that we have coming up with low birth rates. We have fewer people in the workforce paying into Social Security, which is causing problems for Social Security. I see that. I understand. But there are ways we can fix that. But there's no reason to be demanding that women have more children. Women will have children when they dang well want to. Nobody else should have a say in whether a woman decides to give birth or not. If a woman chooses to not have children, that does not make her a lesser woman. That does not make her less important. It doesn't mean she's some hateful person. Just like if a woman chooses to have kids, doesn't say anything negative about her either. The fact that women can have children is awesome. I think it's absolutely amazing how women are able to do that and go through all that from carrying the baby for 9 months to birthing the child. That's got to be excruciating. And then still wanting to do that again. I have no problem with women that want to have children. I have no problem with people that want to be traditional families, right? I have no problem with a woman who wants to stay home, raise the children while her husband goes to work. I have no problem with that. But on the flip side, I believe that women that don't do that should not be, hated on for not doing that. If a woman wants to have a career outside the home and doesn't want to have children, then that's her choice. And that should be her choice. No government or no idiot out there should have any control over that. And I just don't understand it. But anyhow, that I believe is the reasoning why the white nationalists in this country, especially Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and them, are all up in arms over birth rates. I believe that they are scared that if a minority group was to take over as the majority population, that they feel they would lose their rights, that they would lose their privilege, and they are scared to death of that. Myself, I'm not concerned with that. You know why? Because I have tried to be fair to anybody of any race, any religion, any creed. That's been my goal in life since I was, since I've been an adult. I also believe that as a disabled transgender individual, that I do not have, you know, I don't have a whole lot of privilege, but I also check my privilege at the door because I also understand that my life could have been a lot worse had I not had the privileges that I've had, right? It has nothing to do with whether or not I am benefiting a whole lot from anything. The fact is, as a white individual, my privilege is there. There are a lot of things that I deal with on a daily basis, a lot of discrimination I deal with on a daily basis, but it's not because of my skin color. I know there have been chances and things afforded to me in my past because of my skin color, and I think that's disgusting. But to those people that actually have privilege and they have power along with that privilege, you should use it for good. Use it to help people, and then maybe you wouldn't be so scared of minorities. You wouldn't be so scared of these populations becoming the majority population. Maybe you should check your privilege, and then maybe you'd see that nobody's trying to harm you. Many of us just want to break down the institutions that have been built up in this country to keep minority people under the thumb of certain groups of people in this country. Anyhow, thank you for watching. I'll see you down the road.